You are listening to the So Now What podcast with Lana Manikowski, episode number 22. So now what? These three words raced through my mind time and time again during my journey through fertility treatments. I tried desperately to have a child, but never was able. I yearned for a community to join that could understand my struggles. I couldn't find one, so I created one with the So Now What podcast. I love that you found us. Hello, friends. I'm going to apologize ahead of time for my congested nasal voice. I wanted to come back this week and hammer home some more thoughts and facts and the differentiation between the two, because it is a lot to get your arms around. But the reason I emphasize it so much is that it will open up the floodgates for you when you begin to recognize just how often we confuse thoughts and facts. So, this week we're going to learn how to pull out the facts in your story so that you can create new and powerful thoughts that will motivate you to take action towards your goals. All right, so to recap, in episode 20, we focused on identifying what is true and what is a thought. This is an important distinction because you'll often have thoughts that you believe are 100% true and factual. However, the majority of the thoughts that we think are not facts. And then in episode 21, we talked about why our mind takes us to that negative thought that keeps us from wanting to take action in our lives. And it's because our brain has evolved to keep us safe, and its main job for the past thousands and thousands of years has been to look for danger, avoid it, and survive. And because of that repetition in our thinking as humans, our brains have just become conditioned to cycle everything we perceive through a filter that's based on past experiences. And then that creates a neural pathway, basically a shortcut our mind uses to work more efficiently. This means that after our fertility treatments end, many of us can spend so many years of our lives just replaying these negative soundtracks about how terrible our life is and how depressing and empty our future seems because we don't have kids. And these thoughts repeat over and over without us ever spending a single second questioning the truth of those stories. We just continue to have them and never stop and ask ourselves why. So as we do this work on awareness and these tired old stories and perceptions, we're going to get really good at boiling them down to the bare facts and consciously teaching our brain that it totally can attach a new story to the same facts. And the better you get at identifying the true facts of your life, the easier the thought work I'm teaching you will become. Okay, so to recap, what is a fact? A fact is anything that is going on outside of you. Your age, the number of your IVF cycles you've been through, the number of people you know that are pregnant, the number of invites you've received to baby showers. These are facts. And the facts are things that can be measured and things that no one can question. So things that would hold up in a court of law. Could someone come to you and say, how many IVF cycles have you gone through? You can show them your paperwork. Yes, it's true. That's how many you've been through. These are the kind of facts that we want to get really good at identifying, because facts, when they're stated, they're not good or not bad on their own. They're just statements, numbers, dates. They are just very neutral until we attach our own thoughts and meaning to them. And so, as we've talked about before, the facts are just really boring and drama free. So, when you review a list of facts, it should almost feel like you're reading an old, like, dusty car manual than a tabloid of a magazine. And your facts on their own will always be neutral, not good or bad. So that means that whenever you identify a fact It needs to be able to stand up in court. It needs to be non emotional so you can decide what it is that you want to think with your conscious brain. Facts are always boring sentences, no embellishments, no adjectives, no judgments. This is just, going to feel awkward at first because our brains are just so used to processing quickly and at the snap of a finger and just using our past to create our present. So when you're doing your paper thinking and rewriting the facts in your life, it will help you to really slow down when you're actually going through and writing them down. It will allow you to just get into the heart of what's true because the time it takes for your pen or your paper to write those words out, your mind actually has an opportunity to think about what's coming out of your mind and onto paper. And it just really helps you to start to tease away the difference between your facts and your stories. And so, an easy test when you're trying to check whether something is a thought or a fact is to read the sentence out loud and see if it causes you to get emotional at all. Because when something's a fact, we really don't get emotional about it. When something's a thought, there is definitely an emotional attachment. Facts, they don't hurt, they don't feel good until the human brain attaches a sentence to it. So if you're thinking that you're getting emotional over a fact, it's likely that there's a hidden thought to uncover beneath it. All right, so here's an example, like one of my favorites. When someone tells you you can always adopt, and you find yourself feeling really hurt because your brain tells you that the words made you feel bad. When someone said that to you, it made you feel bad. But that's not true. Your thoughts about the words made you feel bad. And the easiest way to find out is to just ask yourself, what thought am I thinking based on these words that's causing me to feel what I'm feeling? And then just listen to what answer your brain gives you. And I can tell you, I've done a ton of work on that very question. I continue to do work on that question because it is one that definitely gets to us. I know, because I've coached on this topic before. And the thought commonly attached to that question, or the words, you can always adopt, is something like, I felt judged for not pursuing adoption, or I feel like people don't think I tried everything to be a mom. So it's important to know that the facts don't cause the emotions for you when somebody offers you the suggestion that you can always adopt. It's the thoughts that we're having about those words, what we're making that mean about us, what we're believing about us when they bring those words up to us. So you're going to get really good at training your brain to believe that you can have that same fact be true, and you can generate new thoughts that don't cause feelings that are unuseful to you. So you might hear yourself saying things like, I know the facts of my life. Nothing goes right for me. I waited too long to have kids. I'm the only unlucky one in my group of friends who couldn't get pregnant. Everyone else I know who went through IVF was successful. So those thought loops are really what get in the way of creating a future that you love, because our brain loves to go to the past for evidence of our previous failures and challenges, and then come back to tell you what you can't or shouldn't do. And then it makes up this imaginary rule of what is and isn't possible for women without children. Okay, so I'm going to hit you with a few quick examples of what some of this thinking might look like in your life. Okay, here's the thought. Nothing ever works for me. This is a great example of using the past to try to predict the future. So one of my mentors always says, your past is a great teacher, but it is not a fortune teller. So ask yourself, is this really true? Is it true that nothing ever works for me? Probably not, because I highly doubt you've never had one outcome come to fruition in your life. So if we were to make it factual, here's 3 of mine. Okay, I did 7 rounds of IUI, factual. I went through 4 cycles of IVF, factual. I don't have a child, factual. That might be just enough to keep me from feeling stuck in an endless thought cycle. Because once we get factual, we can then go a step further. Is this fact useful for me? How does the number of rounds of IVF play a role in my life right now? So, this is where we go to our paper thinking and expand on intentional or targeted questions. And then I'll side note here that if you need help finding intentional and targeted questions, I've got you covered. Go to my website, stitchcoaching.com, and download your guide to loving your life again. And in the guide, I offered you 7 days of journal prompts. So take time each day to do your paper thinking. And when you do that, it helps you to get at the heart of what it is we're thinking and feeling about the facts from our past, rather than just letting crusty old thoughts like who's going to take care of me when I'm old run amok in the back of our heads. All right, so here's another common thought in our community. My body is broken. So you're getting the hang of this? Broken is not very factual. It's actually kind of dramatic, which means it cannot stay in the fact pile. Our brain just wants to trick us into thinking that we'll never be happy or able to love and embrace a life without children. Our whole identity becomes how defeated we are by our infertility, or how much shame we have that our body didn't do what it was supposed to do. And we waste so much time in worry about what is wrong with us rather than discovering the actions that we want to take to change our lives. And as complex as our brain is, it just really likes repetition and simplicity. So you thinking new thoughts and believing new things about your future are going to give it some extra work. And your brain's like, whoa, I don't want to work that hard. I just want to think those thoughts that I've been thinking for the last 10 years. Just don't make me work so hard. My practice and the way I teach my clients to think is always focused on the present and your future self. I find this to be much more useful because it's so much easier to have thoughts that are future focused on your success and where you're going, rather than trying to come up with answers based on the past. It certainly takes daily and deliberate practice to find facts, and whether you are part of the So Now What sisterhood or not, I give you tons of opportunities to discover facts that are generating the negative and useless thoughts that get in the way of keeping you from creating a future that you dream of and a life that you love. So that's why I'll always prompt you to start digging into the thoughts that lead to your facts. We always want to start with the facts first and observe the thoughts from there. So here's what I'm asking you to do going forward. Each day I want you to be listening like your life depends on it for thoughts that you've had about you, your body, your infertility journey. Even just catching one thought a day teaches your brain to start recognizing that not everything you think is automatically true. And your best work happens when you write things down. Don't just catch the thought and try to wish it away or forget about it. I want you to write it down, maybe on a post-it, text it to yourself. If you don't have paper, open the notes app in your phone. Just record it somewhere and use it later to paper think on. And I just mean take that thought and write about it later. Next, I want you to recognize and celebrate yourself just for hearing the thoughts. Even if you don't like them, even if they don't feel great, we'll cover off on different ways to change the negative feelings in the future episode. But being able to observe your thoughts is always the first step. If you're shutting down before you allow yourself to hear your thoughts and figure out the true facts, you miss out on an opportunity. And if you're not catching your thoughts in real time, don't freak out. It takes practice. But what you can do instead is go back to your paper thinking and use the prompts I give you in the guide to loving your life again. And if you made it through all those and you want more, DM me, girl, and I will get you all kinds of good questions that you can write about regarding your beliefs, thought patterns, and how you're showing up in the world. When you practice recognizing what the facts really are versus the thoughts, you give yourself the gift of looking at your life from a neutral place. We spend time with the facts to give ourselves an opportunity to look at the situation without all the judgments, because most of the time you'll see that you've pulled together a whole lot of painful thoughts over some words that someone said and the outcome of a cycle, but your past has nothing to do with how you can be showing up today. The gift you give yourself is getting to decide what you think about your facts on purpose. Have a great week. Gift yourself some time to recognize and clean up those facts in your paper thinking. And remember, it's never too late to discover your meaning. Have a good week.